Hello and welcome to another swatching video. If you are new here and you're wondering what's going on, I decided a while ago that I wanted to swatch out all of my art supplies by color family. And so this is one of those videos. If you want to check out all the other ones that I have completed thus far, you can go check out the link up there. But as you can see, today we are doing greens. And I have to say, I was very surprised that I have so many greens. Green is not necessarily one of my favorite colors. Reds and blues are, and I really thought I was going to have more reds than anything else, and that is not true. It's definitely the greens. We've got watercolors and inks and markers and colored pencils and water-soluble things and some gouache. And let's get going with the swatching. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these by number order according to what Prismacolor has given them. Most of the colored pencils that I have are these old school Prismacolors from way back when I was in high school. I had a giant, like, I don't know, 150 or some odd set of these. So I have a ton of these still. Obviously some colors like I never used. So I do have a lot of these, and then I do have a few of the newer Prismacolors, as this is here, and the best that I could tell, the leads themselves are the same color. They've just changed branding and manufacturers, and I'll show you here. These are both the same. They're 907 Peacock Green, and this is an old one from back in the like 90s, and then this is one of the newer ones from I don't know when. But the brand, the actual logo has changed, the manufacturer changed, it no longer says Canada on it. And I actually have mentioned in other swatching videos how unhappy I am with the new manufacturer. The quality, the colors are the same, but the quality doesn't seem to be there as it was before. As a result, I've been experimenting with other brands, which is what you see going up there. Let's get going here. This first one here is one of the newer Prismacolors, and as I stated, it's 907 Peacock Green. I feel like the lead is loose inside this pencil, which is very common with these new manufactured Prismacolors. I try to get through this swatch without breaking it because I hate sharpening these ones. They break so many times over and over and over. It's a very jewel tone type of green. It's very nice. A little on the blue side. Yeah, that's what I thought. Loose inside. That's why I don't like these new ones. They're just not made the same. Okay, next we've got 908, which is dark green. They're not written on the old ones. I had to look it up online. Well, this one's much warmer than the Peacock. Okay, next we have 909. This is called grass green. I don't know if in other parts of the world grass is this color, but this is not the color green of grass here in my part of the world. It feels like a very artificial green. I mean, it's nice, it's vibrant, but it does not make me think of grass. It's maybe too blue. The grass side here's a little bit warmer, more on the yellow side. Okay, next we have 910, and this one's called True Green. True green, eh? Why is this true green? True green would make me think that it would be exactly halfway between yellow and blue. I don't know if this color reads that way to me. Okay, next we've got 911, and this color is olive green. For this swatch sheet, I had to make my squares smaller than all of the other swatch sheets that I have done thus far because I had so many greens. It was the only way I could get them to fit on one page. I mean, I suppose I could have used other pages, but I like the idea of them all being on one page together, so at a glance I can just look and see all of my greens or all my blues or whatever. Actually, this reminds me more than grass. It reminds me of like the cedar forests out here in BC. Next we have 912, and this one is called apple green. Yeah, I kind of am thinking of a Granny Smith apple when I look at this, I guess. Okay, the next one here we have is 913, and this one is called spring green. It's very bright, sunny, happy green. Okay, now this next one here, I only just have a little stub of it left, and its color is 980, but I looked everywhere on the internet and cannot find a name for this color. It must be one of the ones that was discontinued, but even still, like I have found forums, or not forums, but like a blog post where somebody had posted all the ones that had been discontinued with the numbers, and this one was not in it. So if there's any like Prismacolor experts out there that have any idea what color this is, like what its name is, please let me know. It's 980, and this is all I have left of this little one. So it's on the warm side of things, like on the yellowier side of greens. It's light. It does feel like a natural green. So there is the mystery green. Now we are on 988, and this color is called marine green. It's very brownish sort of green. Like, I don't know, algae mud. Alrighty, next we are on to 989, and this one is chartreuse. Such a variety in greens, like from browns and blues and yellows, like they're just very varied. Okay, moving along, I have another sort of lighter one here, and this one is 991, and it is called Light Yellow Green. It's definitely very light. Very nice. Okay, last Prismacolor colored pencil. This is one of the new ones, and it is 1021 Jade Green. Now, again, this might be one of those parts of the world kind of thing, but this is not what I know as the color of jade. This actually almost looks gray, actually. BC jade, you know, here from British Columbia, Canada, it's actually very, very green. It's not pale and gray like this. It's a very cool, bluish, sort of grayish. I would hardly call it green. It's very dusky and smoky, misty, maybe? Misty feeling. Okay, I'm going to do my two Caran d'Ache Luminance colored pencils. I believe I ordered both of these from Jackson's Art in the UK. My local art store now carries these, but they are so expensive. I can order these from Jackson's Art, and plus, like with including shipping and exchange, they're still cheaper to do it that way than to buy it at my art store. I don't know if it's like that everywhere else, but at least here in the west coast of Canada, it is. So this first one here is 713, and it's called Middle Verdigris. I believe that this one color, I would have either been introduced to this color by Natasha Newton or Monkey Mintaka, because the both of them use these pencils, and I watch them both. Both Natasha Newton and Monkey Mintaka have art-related YouTube channels. I like the way these pencils feel in your hand when you're holding them. They're just a little bit thicker than the Prismacolors, which it just makes it just a tiny bit more comfortable to hold. Okay, the next Luminance by Caran d'Ache that I have here is 719, and it's dark phthalo cyan. Phthalothionine. The type is very, very close together. Let's just call it dark phthalo green. One last colored pencil, and this one is by Faber-Castell, and it's their Polychromos line, and the color is green yellowish. No, earth green yellowish. It's funny, the color that's going down on the paper is pretty similar to the color of paint that they put on the outside of the pencil, but you wouldn't tell by looking at the lead. The lead is so dark. It's another nice, soft, more natural feeling green. Very similar to that one, actually. That was the no-name one. Okay, now I'm going to move on to some water-soluble materials, mediums. And I have a few here to try. Which ones shall I start with? Let's get these out of the way. These are not my favorite, but I have a bunch of these. I bought a set of these Derwent watercolor pencils a while ago, and I don't know if all 3 of these came with that set. They may have, because when I buy them open stock, they have a sticker like that on them. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's go in this sort of order maybe. Okay. So this is May Green 48, the Derwent watercolor pencil. And the reason I say that these are not really my favorite is because I feel like they might be student quality, like there's more binder than there is pigment. When I'm coloring with them, they feel a little, I don't know, scratchy, and when I dilute them with water, which you'll see here in a minute because they're water soluble, I feel like there's not enough pigment to handle being diluted. Okay, now I'm going to get some water here. So once diluted, it goes much more yellow, very chartreusey. Looks very similar to the chartreuse colored pencil once it's been diluted with water. Next, do the next yellowy green one here. This is called Grass Green, number 47. Again, it's a little harsh for what I know to be the color of grass here, but I would have to say it's closer than the Prismacolors Grass Green. That is definitely not the color of grass in my neck of the woods. Maybe certain types of grass under the shade of a tree or something might be that color. I still think it's too blue. Okay, let's see how this one changes when we dilute it. Again, goes way more yellow. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but in person it looks much more yellow. More intense though, more vibrant. Okay, this one is number 44, Water Green. This one's very pale. I bet you when we dilute this one, we're not gonna get amazing results. Very bluey, cool gray, green. I have actually seen water this color, but only certain parts and only certain times of the day, and it must be because of algae or something underneath. Anyways, let's see what happens when we dilute it down here. It almost disappears. It just like lifts it up instead of mushing it around. Not a whole lot of change in color, maybe a tiny bit. Okay, last Derwent one here. This one is number 45, Mineral Green. Makes me think it's probably like an emerald or something. It's quite dry and crumbling a lot when you can see the little bits of it crumbling off when I'm using it. Well, when I'm pushing harder anyways, to get the darker color. It's weird, it's kind of waxy but also kind of chalky. Let's dilute this one down. It gets to go much more intense, almost like Viridian green. Okay, I'm actually going to do these two next because I've got 2 of them and they'll fit there nicely. These are actually also Derwent. I know I said that one was the last Derwent, but it was the last Derwent watercolor pencil. These ones are Derwent Graphitints, and they are water-soluble pencils, like graphite pencils, that are tinted with pigment. And I have a few of these, and the more I've been swatching these and playing with these, I really like them. Because of the graphite, it keeps the colors very muted and earthy feeling. This first one, number 11, it's called Ivy. Definitely a very earthy, browny, olivey green. I'm having a really hard time recalling into my mind what the color of Ivy actually is, but I feel like it's more vibrant than this. But again, it's got the graphite in it, which really helps to desaturate the colors. And it's way more intense and yellowy once I dilute it, but they dilute much nicer than the other ones, the other pencils, water pencils. Okay, so we've got here 08 slate green. Complete opposite from the ivy. It's very, very blue, very cool, almost gray. Like this one here, how it was almost just gray as opposed to green. Let's see what it looks like when I put water on it. Well, definitely the green comes out more, but it's still very, it's really nice. It's very moody, muted green. When you water it down, you can see more of a separation between the gray graphite and the green pigment. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but I can see it in person here. It's nice. Okay, so I was saying I had one other color here. Sorry, brand of water-soluble colored pencils, because I'm not super happy with the Derwent, but I do like Caran d'Ache's colored pencils, and they had some water-soluble ones, the Museum Aquarelle, so I thought I'd give those a try, and this color is 212 Chromium Oxide Green. It does feel better to color with. It doesn't feel so chalky. I like the graphite better, actually, but for a pure color that doesn't have graphite in it, these might be okay. It feels richer and smoother than the Derwents. Let's dilute this baby down. Again, like the other water-soluble things, it does go more vibrant, but it is sort of creamier when you dilute this one as opposed to the Derwent ones. Yeah, it definitely activates with water much nicer than those ones did. It sort of blends out smoother, where these ones you can still see the scratchiness underneath them. Okay, my last two water-soluble thingies, also by Caran d'Ache, and they are Neocolored 2s, which are water-soluble wax pastels. And I learned about these from April over at Monkey Mintaka. She uses these a lot in her work, and so I had to try them. And these here, again, they're a little bit cheaper if I get them from Jackson's Art Supplies in the UK, as opposed to the art store that's like 10 minutes away from me here in Canada. But they are nice. They're really nice to work with, actually. I've played with them a little bit. I haven't done any artwork yet, but I've played with them. They're just very soft and smooth and creamy to color with. They're a great way of getting color down quickly, I find. It's way quicker to fill out an area and color with these than with colored pencils. And they re-wet with water really nicely too, and they go very nice and creamy. This one's kind of showing more yellow in it when it's diluted, which is interesting. It's still got that green sort of on the top, but then the underneath surface is sort of yellow. Did I tell you what color that was? It's lime green. The next one here is olive brown, and it's definitely brown. Like, this is definitely brown. I don't hardly see any green in this at all. I wonder when I get it wet what it'll look like. I feel like this one's going to look really weird on this chart because it's going to be the only one that stands out and not look green. See, even the gray ones look green now compared to now that I've got this in here. I mean, I get it's like, it's brown, but if I was to put it closer to any other family, hue family, I guess green would be it. It's not really a reddish brown. It's not really a yellowish brown. It's not a cool bluish brown, so. It definitely looks more yellow now that it's diluted. I guess it reads more like, yeah, I guess it could be a green. It just seems so brown to me. Okay, so next I'm going to move on to the watercolors. So let me just arrange things here. Okay, here we are with the watercolors next. Now I have a mix of mostly watercolors from Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton. And the first one I'm picking up here is Winsor Newton Viridian. It's a very common green to have as just a basic green in most palettes. And it's a little on the cooler to neutral side of green. It's a great mixing green. You can actually get a beautiful turquoise if you mix this color with cerulean blue. Very beautiful aqua-y turquoise. Nice browns when you mix it with red. Okay, the next one is a Winsor Newton color. Oh, I didn't give you the pigment, I'm sorry. It's pigment green 18. Sorry. The next color here is a Winsor Newton, and these are their old labels. I have a bunch of these with the old labels. I bought some years ago a lot of them from eBay. Somebody was just getting rid of them, and there's like a ton of them, and I think I ended up paying maybe $1.20 or so a tube. So a very good price to buy them that way, but I haven't used them all. As you can see, I still have a lot. This one here is Winsor Green Blue Shade, and that is one of the phthalo colors. When Winsor, they just name them that way. And it is pigment green 7. And this is a very intense green. All the phthalo colors. Phthalo stands for, it is short for a word that's difficult to pronounce. Phthalocyanine or cyanine. Phthalocyanine. So I just say phthalo because it's easier. But all the phthalos, phthalo blues, phthalo greens, they're very intense. They're high staining. They are high tinting, which means if you're mixing it with other colors, a little goes a long, long way. It'll very quickly overpower other colors. Okay, the next one is Daniel Smith, and this is another phthalo color. So this Winsor Green Blue shade, this is phthalo green. Oh, this is phthalo. So this is the same color. I'm sorry, I thought one of these was a red shade. I was wrong. The difference being that the red shade would be a little bit more olivey. So the pigment should be the same. Yep, pigment green 7. Let's see what the difference is between the Winsor and the Daniel Smith. It's smoother, but that's because this tube is newer. Like I said, those Winsor Newton ones were very old. Must have more water. More water. Pretty much the same color. It feels more intense at the moment, but that's probably because it's still very wet, whereas the other one has started to dry. See what they look like when they're both dried. Okay, next I have one of the newer Winsor Newtons. It's called Cobalt Green Deep, and it is pigment green 26. And I believe this is one of the ones that came out of a limited edition set I bought a while ago. But it is slightly opaque, as a lot of the cobalt colors are. It's quite lovely, actually. It's a very nice, cool, moody green. I like it. Okay, and another of the newer Winsor Newtons. This is Perylene Green. I have a few other Perylene colors. I have like a maroon and a violet and whatnot. But this is the Perylene Green, and it is pigment, well, this is actually a black pigment. Pigment black 31. So Clearly it must be a very greeny black. So dark. Like it looks black on the brush right out of the tube. It won't be, you'll see. I don't usually paint directly from the tube like this and then dilute on the paper. I would usually dilute these in a pan, a mixing tray or something first, and then paint with them. But I just don't want to make that much of a mess with the pan, so that's why I'm doing it this way. But as a result, that first little bit's very sort of thick and hard to work with. There, so now you can see it starting to go green as we pull it out. It's very nice, earthy, dark green. Sort of reminds me of like foresty shadows and things like that. Okay, the next one is Daniel Smith from their Primatech line. And their Primatech line of paints are ground up genuine minerals. So this is jadeite genuine. So the idea is that this is ground up jade stone. And I know there's some controversy apparently on how much of the actual mineral is in it versus whatever else. I don't much care. I really like this color and much of their other Primatech colors. But because it's a genuine color, there is not really any pigment. It just says genuine jadeite. It is a very, very beautiful green. I just love it. And it will granulate if you'd like to have that granular texture in your paints. It's just so pretty. Okay, this next one is one of the older Winsor Newtons, and it is called Hooker's Green, and it is pigment, it's a multi-pigment. It's got pigment green 36 and pigment yellow 110. It's a pretty nice green actually. I really ought to use it more, especially since it seems to be drying out a bit. You can see here in the jadeite there's some color separation going on, which happens a lot with quite a few Daniel Smiths actually, and especially their Primatechs. And there's a little bit of sort of a browny gray coming out as well as the green. Very nice. Anyways, Hooker's Green. So yeah, it's definitely a color I should use more. I should do some experiments with it to see what kind of mixes I can get out of it. Okay, one of the older Winsor Newtons, and it is Permanent Sap Green, and it is a multi-pigment color. It's got pigment green 36 and pigment yellow 110. Isn't that what? It's the same pigments as the Hooker's Green. So they must be just mixed in a different, like I'm guessing this one has more of the yellow, whereas this one has more of the green. Yeah, you can tell right away it's way more yellow. Definitely warmer, so same pigments, but mixed at different ratios. Also a very common color to have in your palette. Great mixing color, apparently. I haven't actually played with it too much. That might be an idea for some upcoming videos, is some color exploration. Okay, so this next color is kind of an outlier. It is the only Da Vinci color I have, and I believe I just picked it up on a whim at my local art store because it was in a clearance bin. And this color is called Leaf Green, and it is pigment green 7 and pigment yellow 65. It's got way more yellow going on in the sap, at least in its undertone. There was another color that I think this one here was similar, but nowhere near as pigmented, where it's had that yellow undertone and the green overtone. Very bright. Almost chartreuse, but a little on the green side, I think. There you go. When you water it out, it's very chartreusey. Another one of my favorites is Daniel Smith's Green Gold. and it is got a few pigments in it. It's got pigment yellow 150, pigment yellow 3, and pigment green 36. So 3-color pigment. It's really quite beautiful. It does lovely things when it's all watered out. And we'll probably see some separation in the pigments once it starts to settle and dry. Although these would show up better on a watercolor paper with more texture. I'm currently on a hot press, which is a very smooth watercolor paper. Okay, this next one is called Serpentine Green, or Serpentine, and it came in a curated set that I bought a while ago, and I don't have the pigment information written on the side of the pan, so I will look that up and pop it on screen for you. It's a very nice, natural, olivey sort of green. I'm guessing that this is also a multi-pigment color. Okay, 2 left. This is another really awesome Daniel Smith color. It's called Undersea Green, and it has pigment blue 29, which is ultramarine blue. It has pigment orange 48, which I want to say is a pyrrole orange, but I'm not sure. And pigment yellow 150, which is Nicolazo yellow, which is lovely. And these 3 colors together are quite nice and do awesome things when watered out, and they will granulate and separate as well. As with a lot of Daniel Smith's multi-pigment colors, the fun comes when things are diluted and you play with a lot of water and then the colors start to separate. Some very cool effects. This one, when it dries, you can see the ultramarine blue pop out every now and then. It looks super green at the moment. See what that looks like when it dries. It's not very, I didn't get a very good gradient. And the last watercolor here, Winsor & Newton's Olive Green, and it is pigment yellow 65 and pigment blue 15.6. Or sorry, 15:6, not point. Oh, and pigment red 101, so it's a 3-color pigment, which makes sense because the red would be thrown in there to desaturate it and tone it down a bit. Okay, so that is it for the watercolors. So, oh, I lied. I got one more here. It's one of the P.H. Martin's liquid concentrated liquid watercolor. And this color is Phthalo Green, pigment green 7. Okay. Anyways, these Dr. P.H. Martin's colors, I have a set of them, and they are highly concentrated liquid watercolors, and you can use them right out of the tube as is. You don't have to water them down because they're already liquid, but they are super concentrated, so you can water them down and they go a long way. Like a little bit goes a long way with these. I feel like I have to shake it just a little bit more. They're all because they're so concentrated, they're very vibrant, very intense colors. Okay, now I'm done with the watercolors, promise. So next I'm going to do gouache, and I only have one gouache. I bought a set of these Winsor & Newton Designers gouache a few years ago because I really want to get into it. I like gouache, I like the way it looks, I like that flat matte look of it. I just have not yet mastered it. It's very difficult for me to paint with. But this particular one here is called Permanent Green Middle, and it looks like it's a multi-pigment color. Where did I see that? It's got a pigment yellow 3, pigment yellow 74, and a pigment green 7. Gouache is intended to be used at more of a thicker consistency than watercolor. Think like a thick cream. Not necessarily straight out of the tube. Add just the tiniest little bit of water to get it moving. But you also can thin it down like you would with watercolors to get sort of more of a wash effect. They don't have the same flow as watercolor. Like when you put watercolor next to a puddle of clear water, it has a tendency to flow into that water, whereas gouache not so much. Okay, my inks. I'm going to start with this one here, which is De La Rowney's FW Acrylic Artist ink. And so this is an acrylic, so once it dries permanent. You can't reactivate it with water. And it is very thin like ink, which is why it is called acrylic ink. So you can paint with it similarly as you would with a gouache or well, more like a watercolor. It's thin like a watercolor. And it is pigment yellow. This one here is pigment yellow 3 and pigment green 7, and it is called light green. Accurate. Yeah, you can paint with them just right out of the bottle. You do not have to dilute them. But again, you can if you so choose, if you want a washier look. Next, I have a couple of Winsor Newton drawing inks. These are not necessarily my favorite inks to work with in the world, but I had a set, so I have them. I just need to find myself a spare piece of paper. There, I slip this paper in underneath my painting paper because these here they'll bleed right through this paper. So this first one is called Apple Green. They don't have pigment information on them. So there you go, Apple Green. And I don't know if it shows up on camera, it instantly sinks right into the paper. Instantly, like there's no manipulating it or moving it around on the paper to get flows and washes. It just instantly soaks right in. I think these are intended to be used with like a dip pen. And the next one is Emerald Green. And same thing, just soaks right in. Maybe it's why they're not my favorite, because I tried to use them like watercolors and they don't really work that well as a watercolor. And I don't do a lot of dip pen work, so maybe I ought to. They do a funny thing when I get them too wet. They're a little yellowy. Okay, one more ink. This is a Liquitex acrylic ink, similar to the De La Rowney, just a different brand. And they had this set of muted colors that came out a while ago, and I bought the set because there were awesome muted colors. Okay, so this is muted green, and it is pigment violet 23 and pigment green 36. So the violet is put in there obviously to mute the green. It's actually looking very teal. And oh yeah, it soaked it right in just like the other inks. Should maybe have gotten the paper wet to see if I could flow the ink in it a little bit better. There we go. That's lovelier. Almost there, guys. Almost there. We are down to just the last few things, and they are the markers. I have 4 Copic markers in the green family. I was really into experimenting and playing with Copic markers a few years ago, so I have a couple of handfuls of these. I usually have a darker and a lighter version of, you know, whatever colors I was interested in. I'm gonna actually, just because I've got this paper shoved over here, I'm gonna start on this side here, and I'm going to do these ones here first. I'm gonna start on the far right. So this is green 28, and it's called Ocean Green. It's a nice green. It's not too fake and oversaturated. And I have a pigment green 20, or sorry, pigment green. Green 21, lime green. That's a very ill-looking lime. You can see some of the yellow is bleeding right out underneath it. That's super weird. They don't have pigment information on them. Okay, and I have a couple of yellowy greens. So this one is yellow green 25, and it's called Celadon green, Celadon. Like a lovely Granny Smith apple green. Look at how much that bled out. Crazy. Okay, last one, yellow green 01, green Vice. See, now this would be more like a lime green to me. And there we have it, all of the greens that I have. I actually have 2 empty spots. Not that I'm gonna go out and buy 2 more greens to fill it, but look at the variety. Like, I think of all of the color families, like the green has the most variety. I can't think of, maybe purples, because you can go a really far range from red to blue, but man, that's a lot of greens. I love it. Okay, let's get a closer look here. So starting with the colored pencils there at the top. That looks so blue. That's that jade green pencil. This was the, these are the 2 graphitints. So again, I don't know if it's showing up, the different flecks of graphite versus pigment. Watercolors in there. These are the Neo colors. Yeah, that one is that jadeite. It's separating just a little bit in there. I think that was the green gold. You can see the, or was that the green gold and that was the serpentine? One way or the other. And then here, this is that one, it's the undersea green. You can see just how, you could see all the separation. I don't know if the colors are coming up so well, but these darker spots, like it's much more blue. And then we got yellower spots, and it's a quite cool effect. And the Copics, see that crazy, like, bleed? It's so weird. Anyhow, thanks for joining me on this other swatching of all of the greens. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said before, green is not necessarily my favorite color, but is definitely my sister's favorite color. Specific greens though, apparently, and I'm not sure which of these are her specific greens, but this one is dedicated to my sister. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Usually I ask if you have a favorite type of color in this family hue. Do you like the yellowy ones, the blue ones, the brown ones? So, you know, feel free to leave that in the comments, and then I'll know you've made it to the end. And if you made it this far, you might as well just click that like button and maybe even click on that subscribe button. It would really help me out. And yeah, have a great day. Bye-bye.